Day 44, Pacific Heights. When you think of the stereotypical wealthy neighborhood in San Francisco, the most well-known one, again, the like kind of default that everyone would go to when they be, and mind you, it wasn't always an insanely wealthy city the way it is now. There's always been a lot of money here, but I'm getting to that. I'm gonna call rank on this. The only correct answer is Pacific Heights. Yes, Russian Hill is expensive. Yes, Nob Hill is expensive. Yes, Cow Hollow is expensive. Yes, so is the Marina, so is Noe Valley. Literally, San Francisco's not a cheap city. It's a very expensive city. But again, stereotypically, the only correct answer is Pacific Heights. It's definitely the largest wealthy part of San Francisco. And it's bordered by, let's see, the Western Addition. Depending on who you ask, Japantown is part of Pacific Heights. It's its own thing. I'm not going to get into that in this video. Let's see. The Tenderloin on one end, the Marina on the other side, and then the Presidio in the back. Obviously, I don't have a map in front of me. That's just very generally speaking. Pacific Heights kind of, does it have a main strip? It's so Van Ness, which I've definitely covered, one of the main thoroughfares of San Francisco. That's one boundary of Pacific Heights. Broadway is somewhat of another boundary as well. Although, again, generally speaking. And then Divisadero, kind of. And then on the other side, the fourth boundary would probably be Geary, but then I could be wrong about it. And then again, like Cathedral Hill is another little neighborhood that's like Pacific Heights-ish, Western Addition-ish, but I've generally described where Pacific Heights is. Of course, there's Lower Pacific Heights, which is closer to Van Ness, closer to downtown, and then there's Upper Pacific Heights, which is closer to the Presidio Heights, Jordan Park. I think, well, the difference between the two is that Upper Pacific Heights is more difficult to get to, by default, a little bit more exclusive. Not a little bit more exclusive. Not as easily navigatable by public transit. Much lower Pacific Heights is much more easy to navigate by public transit. But Pacific Heights is where all the politicians live. So Nancy Pelosi lived in Pacific Heights. So did Dianne Feinstein before she passed away. But Dianne Feinstein also grew up in Presidio Heights. So literally the only gated community in San Francisco, which I've covered in a different video. But the other interesting thing about Pacific Heights, which actually makes a lot of sense, is that there's a lot of schools there, right? Wealthy neighborhoods are where little rich kids go to school, right? Safe neighborhoods, lots of private schools. So this is how I'll end this video. So Broadway Street, which I've covered in another video, a major thoroughfare of San Francisco, which runs from the Embarcadero all the way to literally the Presidio, and the last 3 blocks of it are what's known as Billionaires Row. So if you hit Broadway Street at certain times of the afternoon and at certain times of the morning, you're going to hit commuter traffic because Broadway Street is where a bunch of schools are. I call it the Lucky Sperm Club. But anyway, that's Pacific Heights.